talk here, and I would like to thank especially the TAG Bursary Fund, without whose support I couldn't be here. So thank you very much to them. Thanks very much to that. So I'm a bit shy to start to talk here because I saw a few talks by a few of you, and you did either crazy stuff, Marcin, either advanced stuff, complicated stuff, the friends from Lithuania, either stuff which is both crazy and advanced. So, so what I'm a simple man in general. So what I use, I try to adhere to the KISS simple. Keep it simple, stupid. Because if I do something too advanced, I get lost. So let me start. I work together with my friend Czego for a journal called Wiadomości Matematyczne. It is, for those of you who don't know, it is a kind of a newsletter for the Polish Mathematical Society. This is not really a newsletter because it appears twice a year, so sometimes it's a bit like an old letter. But still, it is a journal with a huge tradition. It was founded in, well, I can't remember now, but let me check it, in 1897, so it's pretty impressive. It had some breaks, but anyway. And it has a lot of traditions, sometimes also typographical traditions, sometimes strange traditions, too. And, well, yes, and it's more, something like, this year it will be 10 years that we work for that. So, what do we do there? When we were first asked to work for the journal, we didn't really know what we are going to do there. I will have to keep myself in order with respect to time. So we didn't fully know what to expect. And as the time went by, it turned out that our duties were established to more or less this. It was not like this from the beginning, but now it's basically typesetting. We do typesetting, we do proofreading and copy editing, in fact. We do printing. And for sometimes we did also sending out. So it was us who went to the post office with the huge packages and things like that. So, but basically the main thing we do is getting articles, getting papers from the authors in whatever form they submit, with emphasis on whatever, in fact, and turn it into something decent, or we hope beautiful, and produce a PDF to send to the printing house. So we start basically with making these papers work with our LaTeX classes, which I will be talking about in a second. Then making them correct Polish, which is a huge undertaking. Because you know, they are all usually written by mathematicians. By the way, we try to make them correct LaTeX along the way. And then, after they are made into correct Polish, we try to make them also in an, maybe not beautiful, but nice Polish, which is an entirely different thing. And then we try to make them match our traditions, which are sometimes not, it's not correcting errors, it's correcting things that are not like we do in our journal. So they are sometimes perfectly correct and nice, but not the way we do that. So, what tools do we use? As you could probably see, we use Emacs. My friend didn't use Emacs at the start, but I converted him. That's exactly the case. We use, of course, LaTeX. We use our own classes, which I wrote some time ago. We use some other tools I will tell you in a second. So, when we started, we had made some assumptions. We decided on some policies. So, the assumptions make our life much simpler. First of all, we have low volume. We can afford, afford time-wise, to do a lot of work manually. Because it doesn't make sense to automate everything, because it wouldn't work anyway. So we do a lot of things manually. By low volume, I mean something on the order of 250 to 300 pages per year. This is not very much. We have our jobs, our families, and so on. So it's a bit demanding, but not too much. So this is the first assumption, which makes life quite easy for us. Another assumption which makes our life very easy compared to what other people sometimes do is that we have one output format only, it's PDF. Full stop. So we don't do real web publishing. We do publish our papers on the web, but in the PDF form, so that they look exactly like the printed journal. There are some reasons for that, not only technical, but let's not do that. So we started with the assumption that if we do not have a very strict policies on, like, file naming, where to put the files, how to structure our directories, we will get lost very quickly. So we started with that. For instance, one rule is that each article has each paper has resides in a file with a name like ART dash 4 digits of number dash last name of the first author alphabetically in lowercase, and so on. So I even wrote a document explaining all these policies so that we will not forget them. So this is something like this. And there are more policies like that, but this one is most important. We use a version control system to keep everything there. We use Mercurial, and that's pretty much it. Well, it is a bit more complicated. I mean, there are more policies like that, but they are not that interesting for you either. What is, I think, more interesting for you, and what is the bulk of my talk, is our class, LaTeX classes. Many people here talked about various things like what packages authors use. You talked about it. It was fascinating to me, in fact. About other things. What I would like to do now is a bit technical in both meaning of the word. In other words, I would like to show you fragments of our classes and tell you a bit about the challenges we had, the problems we faced, and the ways we solved them. And if you expect really advanced LaTeX hackery, I'm afraid I will disappoint you. We do not have very advanced stuff there, but we have some things I think are pretty, well, I'm afraid of, I want to say clever, I'm very afraid of clever solutions, because if someone makes a clever solution to something, it usually means I should duck and hide or run away. Because clever solutions tend to break in terrible ways. So the main goals we had when we created classes was, the first one, which is probably one of the most challenging things, is that we wanted to be able to typeset both the individual paper and the whole issue. And the whole issue is typeset in one LaTeX run. So we do not join PDFs. We input text files. So, but of course, each of these text files has document class, has begin document, and document stuff like that. So we have to deal with that somehow. One reason that we do not typeset articles separately is that one of the traditions of Wiadomości Matematycznych is that sometimes the next article begins at the same page as the previous ends. Like this. So joining PDFs would be a real pain there. Theoretically it would be maybe possible, but not worthwhile, I think. The other thing is metadata. LaTeX has a very limited set of metadata for the document. Basically, author, title, and data. And date, that's it. We don't need date, but we need author or authors. We need their emails. We need their address. We need their... one of the traditions of Wiadomości Matematyczne is that we typeset next to the author name the city he works in, or she, and things like that. We also need sometimes, for instance, a footnote related to each author, or a general footnote related to the title, and things like that. Also, we need, in fact, two titles, because the table of contents is typeset twice, in Polish and in English. So for each paper, we need two titles, a Polish one and an English one. In fact, more titles, because there is the title for the running head and things like that, of course. Another thing, another challenge, well, metadata was not really a challenge, but it was a tedious thing, we had to do that. But a bit more challenging was that we want to have something resembling grid typesetting. I mean, we are not very strict on that. If we have something like displayed equations, or quotations, which we typeset in a smaller type, and a few things like that, we say, okay, let's drop the grid requirement for that page. But for simple pages, where we have only text, and for the most part, we have a lot of text and not too much mathematics, because there are not very many mathematical papers in this journal. Most papers are about people who just became nominated professors, or professors who have died, or people who got some prizes and things like that. So, for the most part, we have text, sections, sometimes subsections, but we try to avoid that, and sometimes pictures or diagrams. So, with these things, we stick to the grid. The consequence is that we redefined a lot of LaTeX stuff, as you will see in a minute. And the last design goal, last but not least, reasonable automation. I mean, we decided to automate what can be automated, but not too much. In fact, what I'm going to show you in a minute is the second iteration of our classes. Because the first iteration was too complicated, was too clever. I tried to be more clever than I am, and that was a mistake. And after some 4 or 5 years, I decided to rewrite these classes almost from scratch, to make them simpler, to make them work more reliably, and to allow for, to cater for less automation, but to give more manual hooks, so that I could change manually, easily change manually things. And that turned out to be a very good decision. Okay, so, about LaTeX classes. In fact, what I'm going to do now is, there will be 2 parts mainly of my talk from now on. The first will be, I'm going to show you some LaTeX code of these classes. Maybe some of you will find some of these things interesting, because maybe you face similar problems, and you would like to see how we solve them. Maybe you have, yes?
Oh, could we perhaps pass the book around while you talk? So
yeah, I want to do that. Okay, so you can pass that around to see what it looks like. So I would like to show you fragments of my classes, of our classes, and then I would like you to talk for some 15, maybe 20 minutes about our workflow. So what do we do with the file we are sent by a creative author, in a sense you talked about? What do we do to transform that file to a nicer, more correct version? So let's start with the classes. Documenting classes. We use DocScript, and in the first iteration of classes, I got fascinated with the DocScript feature of producing many different classes, and it was a huge mistake. Because in our journal we have like 8 types of articles. We have regular articles, we have letters to the editor, we have book reviews, we have obituaries, and things like that. All of them have a bit of different needs, also in terms of typography. For instance, with obituaries, every one of them is started with a picture of the late person and the scan of their signature. This is our tradition. In case of book reviews, we start with a small picture of the book in question with text next to it. In case of articles about laureates of the prizes, we also have a small picture of the person in question with text wrapped around, and things like that. So I decided to use DocScript to prepare a separate class, LaTeX class, for each of these article types. That was a mistake. It turned out that it is much better to use class options, one big class with various options.
Yes.
It's much better. That's what we do now. In the first iteration, we use GMDoc, but after it stopped working with PDF LaTeX, we moved to LaTeXdoc, classical one, which I do not like a lot because of this begin macro code and macro code stuff, which is unwieldy, but we live with it. GMDoc is more clever. So that I already talked. Too many classes spoil the course. Definitely. The problem with these too many classes was that in the class for the typesetting, the whole issue, all the code had to be there anyway. So it didn't really make sense to split it into too many classes. This is the list of packages we use. And I do not. You know, this is the problem I mentioned during Jerzy's talk. In order to make LaTeX useful, you have to load a lot of packages. A very quick mention of some of them. Xparse, that's obvious. We define commands accepting various types of arguments. eToolbox is also obvious. We do not use LaTeX 3. I was not brave enough to use LaTeX 3, in fact. And also, I had my habits with expand afters and things like that. I know LaTeX 2 and XPL3 would make my life easier, but I decided that it would be faster for me to use the thing I know. You know the proverb. When you learn to use a hammer, everything looks like nails. So, that's the point. AMS Math is obvious. Math tools, I really have no idea why Math tools is not part of AMS Math. I really don't know. It's indispensable for me. PGFPs and PGFOps, we do not use the whole power of these packages, but they let us define options in an easy way. AMS Refs is our choice for bibliographies. I like AMS Refs much better than BibTeX, which is obvious, because BibTeX is garbage, basically. Especially if you want to typeset non-English bibliographies. BibTeX really does not work with that. And BibLaTeX is very complicated. One of the main advantages of AMS Refs is that you can keep all your article and bibliography in one file. This is very nice. I like that aspect a lot. We typeset our journal with Minion Pro fonts. That's pretty obvious. Of course, our classes are not yet published. I'm working on a documentation for them, for the authors now, and it's pretty advanced. I think something like 70 or 80% is ready. So it's not like very complete vaporware or something like that. But we have a nice switch if Minion Pro is not present, because I can't assume authors have Minion Pro, of course. If Minion Pro is not present, the classes fall back to computer model. Of course, the line breaks will be different, but that doesn't matter because we change a lot of stuff anyway from the author's source. So it's even better because then we can tell authors explicitly, do not bother about hyphenation, line breaks, anything like that. We will do it. Do not do anything with that. You will make our life harder. Package Polski for typesetting in Polish, geometry is PDF. This is a small package. In case someone uses regular tech producing DVI, we use our journal's logo in a PDF format. If we typeset a DVI, we switch to EPS. That's it. Graphics is obvious, TeX is obvious. Multicol is more or less obvious. We typeset book reviews in 2-column format. Fancy header annometem is obvious. Booktabs is obvious. We typeset tables from time to time, and booktabs is a canonical way to make nice tables these days, I think. Adphone is for some nice touch, some ornaments, things like that. Microtype is obvious. We have a narrow column, as those of you who saw the journals may have seen. We have a rather narrow columns, so especially in the 2-column sections. So microtype is really a big help. Upref is obvious, nice track URL. These last two are interesting. Hyperref and PDF pages are used because of very, very specific need. I will try to talk about it in the end. Well, I will forget it, so let me talk it now. After the work on an issue is finished, and the PDF file is sent to the publishing house, and the printed copies are sent to people, the dust settled, then we prepare PDF files of individual articles for the website, and for the authors too. But we want these PDF files to be exactly like in the printed issue. Also, when an article starts half a page, we want the author to get this with the ending of the previous article, because this is like it's printed. Exactly. So what we do is, when we typeset the whole issue, there is a special option which generates very short LaTeX files, so driver files, so what we use PDF pages to input the individual articles. Just the from page somewhere to page somewhere, and it uses Hyperref to set up PDF metadata, so that each of these individual articles have correct PDF metadata, title, author, and that's it. So this is used for that. We do not use Hyperref or anything like hyperlinks or what, because we only aim at printed material. So,
why do you use the URL?
Because in bibliographies and other stuff, we sometimes typeset URLs. And emails. So we use it for that. Emails are not a problem usually, but in URLs you find all of these weird characters like the tilde, and so on. So URL is a nice way to not be, not worry about cat codes and things like that. It does it for us. That's it, pretty much. So we have only two .script guards. Well, in fact, three, but it doesn't matter. We have basically two classes, as I told you. One class for individual paper, and one for the whole issue. That's it. And there is the third class for these driver files, but it doesn't matter. Class options with PDF opts, and it looks like this. This is actually the source code. It's documented in Polish. I'm sorry for that, but it's our internal documentation, so that's why we chose Polish. I will make it a bit larger if you want. So this is stuff. This is stuff for options. So we have options like proof, website, and ebook. They are initialized to be empty, then something else is put there. So, for instance, proof is more or less a draft-like option, which typesets a few more things for us. Website typesets the version for the website, so, or for the authors, of course. Ebook typesets something which is suitable for me to read on my ebook reader, so basically no margins, and so on. Here comes the fun stuff, macros for the whole issue. We want to have hooks like at begin article, at end article. When we typeset an individual article, they are just equivalent to the toolbox after end preamble and begin and before end document or something like that. When we typeset the whole issue, there are special TOX registers, and these macros put their stuff in this TOX register. Something like this. We have also macros like article only and issue only, which typeset their arguments only in the respective case. This is actually very useful, because sometimes, for instance, when we typeset an individual article or paper, we want to force a page break somewhere. And we know that in the issue, the page break will be in a completely different place anyway. So, for stuff like this, and some other things like that, these macros are useful. We have macros like year, volume, and so on, which gather the metadata for the whole issue, not for the individual paper, but the whole issue. The year, the volume, the issue number, things like that. Also, because Wiadomości Matematyczne appear twice a year, the second issue of the year does not have its pages beginning with 1, but with the number of the last page of the first issue plus 1. This is a kind of a tradition, let's say. So we have to set this page number also. Of course, we cannot assume that each author has different labels for the labeling mechanism. So we actually redefine the labels, and we do it like this. As I told you, it's very simple. I mean, simplistic, but I'm a simple guy, so it works for me. Here is the article only and issue only stuff. So it's pretty obvious. This is typeset only using docstrip in the article version, this in the issue version. Here is the label stuff. So we save the original definitions and then make our own ones, like this, more or less. The LP num means just tabular numerals, not old-style numerals, which you use for text. So this is an article. This is the same as the originals, modulo the font, the numerals. For issue, we have a prefix of subjob name, which is the name of the file with the article, with the paper. So this way, even if in two papers in the same issue, the labels are the same, or the bibliography labels is the same way, we don't have conflicts. Then we have to redefine things like document class, document and use package. Because if we input the individual papers, then we don't want this document class to generate an error, of course. So what we do is, you guess it's simple. WM document class, so it is our document class, is a bit long. First of all, if this is is not our class, we generate an error, but this is obvious. We clear the article type to be redefined in a few minutes. We set all the important counters to 0. This is obvious. We have some magic here. This magic is because of these papers starting not at the new page. This is not simple. I would like it to be simple, but I couldn't make it simple, in fact. We have to stuff like that because the declare math operator, which is used quite often in the papers, is preamble only, which is a pain. So we have to do things like that. And so on. I talked about it. Then we have another complication, which is article groups. Some groups, as those of you who saw the issue, can see that some articles are grouped. For instance, book reviews are grouped. Information about new professors, newly nominated professor are grouped, and so on. These groups are important because each group starts on a new page, and each group is treated separately in the table of contents. So we have to define a suitable environment, well, maybe not have, but that's what we do. Where is it? It's a bit further down, yeah. Environment group, which sets the switches and things like that. There are two switches. First, if in group, which tells us whether we are in a group or not, and if we are the first article in the group or not. If we are the first, then we have to start with clear page, for instance. If not, not necessarily, and so on. Table of contents. I won't show you the code for table of contents. It's a terrible code. Because, well, we had to do it from scratch, basically, because the LaTeX table of contents was not enough for us, because we have two tables of contents, the English one and the Polish one. So we have our own macros. If you are curious, in the paper, in the proceedings, there is a link to the page where I uploaded this code. So those of you who are brave or who want to make fun of me or both can look there. So table of contents is really a pain. I learned the hard way that controlling expansion without LaTeX 3 is difficult. But we managed to do that with the help of eToolbox. So that's pretty much it with table of contents. Then we have some nicer stuff, like metadata. We have a lot of macros like title, author, and things like that. And defining them all the time in the usual way is tedious. So I defined a meta macro, define data grabber, which looks like this. Beautiful, right? It's here. It uses eToolbox, of course. So it defines a macro. Basically, define data grabber something is more or less the same as this. Def this something to be equal to def add sign and this something. So the usual stuff. It was nice to code, easy, and so on. And we have a lot of things for gathering metadata. Title for the running head, title for the table of contents, title for the website, and things like that. The usual LaTeX way for that is to use optional arguments. I don't really like that way, because if we have only two versions of a title, that's nice. The short version is the optional argument, the normal version is the mandatory argument. But if we have four versions of a title, one for the running head, one for the table of contents, and one for the website, I mean the PDF metadata, and the record title, remembering the order of them, which is which, was impossible for me, because I'm too simple a man. So I decided to use separate macros for that.